Greetings, this is Mr. Glenn again of ACT Prep Chicago. If you have questions, um, you need some assistance, you want to report a mistake on the video, I don't know, feel free to contact us, actprepchicago@yahoo.com. 773-474-2540 is the phone number. Probably shouldn't put a phone number in the video because if it goes viral, it's going to be a lot of calls. But anyway, um, let's move forward. This video is going to be going over the uh, ACT Practice Test 2, which is on ACT's official website. This is where I got the test from this ACT.org's website under their the ACT test. I think it's under test prep, but online ACT practice test and sample questions. This is the practice test PDF 2. This is the PDF format. They also have the same tests and questions in the online digital format here. And this, I'm doing practice test 2. You can do it timed or untimed. And um this is the new enhanced digital version of this exam. So without further ado, let's move into it. And we're going to do the English today, probably do it in halves. We do the first half now, second half later. All right. So English. The legacy of Choctaw stickball. So when I'm doing it in English, I usually will. Oops, okay. Go. Okay. I usually go into the reading part. Again, I haven't done these in advance, so this is me doing them now with this video with you. So it might be, I might take some time with certain questions, but it's actually a good way to review instruction in videos because you get a chance to really get a feel for um, the processes by which you can solve questions. The legacy of Choctaw stickball. Every summer at the Choctaw Indian Fair in central Mississippi, hundreds of men, women, and children gather to take part in the fair's main event. The main event is the Choctaw World Series of Stickball. This multi-day tournament in summer celebrates the fast-paced, aggressive game of stickball, also called toli or ishtaboli, possibly the oldest sport in North America. So I usually read to the period and stop. Multi-day tournament in the summer. Every summer, this is redundant, right? And this is at least redundant. I don't need to say summer in my answer because I already have summer there. Multi-day tournament in Mississippi. I don't need to say Mississippi because I have Mississippi there. Annual holiday tournament. They say every summer. That's annual. That's every year. So all I got to say is multi-day tournament. D. When they ask about least redundant, it's usually going to be the shortest answer choice too. So it's kind of a giveaway. In the old test format, they didn't ask for least redundant. They would just give you these answer choices and you'd have to figure out that it was testing redundancies. Now the test almost gives it away. So when they say least redundant, it's usually asking for the shortest choice. All right, number 2, but I usually pick up where I left off. Players come not only for the sport, but the reason I read this is because you're going to get the questions to ask about the passage overall, the main idea, and you want to be able to have some context. All right, players come not only for the sport, but also for the sense of community that stickball affords. In stickball, players work to move the toa, or ball, that must be the language of the Choctaw. Central Mississippi, they got Choctaw Indians. Oh, wow. Okay. I always just associated Indians with like, the plain states and maybe North America where you see reservations. I didn't think about Mississippi having Native American or Indian communities or Choctaw. Nevertheless, learn something every day. In stickball, players work to move. It makes sense too because Native Americans were in what's considered current day Mississippi prior to English settlers being there. So it makes sense that those settlements would still be. All right. In stickball, players work to move the tawa ball down the field to their opponent's end, where a narrow 12-foot high post stands. Most grammatically acceptable. So this is testing punctuation. Um, Yeah, see, it's definitely H because it's like it's saying a side note to move a tower, and then you're going to tell us what the tower is just a ball. We don't need to do F because we don't need dashes and parentheses. That's doing the same thing. Same with G. We don't need two commas and two parentheses. That's doing the same thing. We don't need both. We just need one, like with just parentheses is fine. J, the comma by itself doesn't put the ball in the side note to indicate that tower is the Native American or Choctaw word for ball. And we wanted it to be a side note. All right, continuing. So the correct answer for that is H. I think I said that. To catch, carry, and throw the tower, ball, in Choctaw, they hold to kaboka. These are sticks made of hardwood with a netted scoop at the end. I know this is wrong as is because this is a sentence. To catch, carry, and throw the tower, they hold two tower. But that's a sentence, and it says these are sticks made of hardwood. That's a sentence. I'm using a common substitute sentence. That's a problem. So I need a fragment on this side. So it's testing that. B would be another sentence. C would be another sentence. D is the only one that offers a fragment on the right side. D is correct. To catch, carry, and throw the towel, they hold to kaboka, comma, and then they're going to tell you what kaboka are. These are sticks made of hardwood with a netted scoop at one end. So it's almost like a sentence, comma, then a side note. The side note is a fragment explanation of what a kabaka is, right? But we don't need A, B, and C because they all give us two. They explain what a kabaka is, but they give us sentences on the right side, and we don't have any punctuation there to separate two sentences. All right, number four, which choice is least redundant in context? Again, least redundant, I bet you is J, right? I bet you it's J, right? I bet you it is J that is the least redundant. Be, no, which choice is least redundant, right? Because least redundant means non-repetitive. So which choice is least redundant? Probably it's J because it means you don't put anything at all. Again, this test prefers when you say least redundant, you're looking for usually the shortest choice. D means delete the underlined portion means none of these words at all. But let's just look for redundancies. Kabaka are used to catch and throw the ball. They said that above, up here. To catch, carry, and throw the ball. They hold to Kabaka. So that's redundant. F is redundant. The ball that players use is called a towel. We already said that. The posts in the field were 12 feet high. We already said that. Right? 12, there it is, 12-foot high posts. So the answer to four is J. By asking the question, which choice is redundant, you can almost just look for the shortest choice every time. But I still looked for redundancies just to confirm. Players score a point by either touching the post while carrying the Toa ball or launching the Toa and hitting the post. Okay, so they gotta hit the post or they touch the post while carrying the ball. Okay, that makes sense. Given that all the choices are accurate, which one best introduces the paragraph? How do we know how to introduce a paragraph? We have to read the paragraph first. I'm not going to read the underline because I don't want to be influenced by what's in the paragraph. I'm going to start with the in fact part. In fact, the sport is nicknamed the little brother of war because communities frequently settle disputes by playing stickball instead of waging battle. These contests were fierce and physical. There were almost no rules. The playing field had no boundaries, and the length of the field varied greatly, sometimes a significant amount. Okay. Um, so the paragraph was about them using these games to settle disputes, and they would be really tough disputes, tough games. Let's see if A captures that. Teams can be any size as long as the ball. No, that's not. B, the first written record. No. In the tournament, winners occur. No. Historically, stickball played an important role in resolving conflicts. This is exactly what we read. They would use stickball instead of wars, and that's why they would be fiercely contested contests. So D is the correct choice. You see, it's very important, though, that you read the paragraph without reading the part. You could have read the underlined part, but the underlying part could have influenced you to think what the paragraph is about and it would be off. So if you don't read it, you just read the paragraph first and you're not influenced by the underlying. All right, number six, which choice makes the sentence most grammatically acceptable? The contests were fierce and physical, and there was almost no rules. All right, so when you see there like this, usually your subject comes after your verb. So your subject in this case was rules. So it wouldn't be there was no rules. It should be there were, because rules is the subject. So rules is plural. So we need a verb that matches the plural subject. Was but not were. There has been hardly any rules. Has been doesn't work. That matches a singular subject. Were it matches a plural subject. Was doesn't. I usually use there are two. Well, so you would have to do this is subject verb agreement, but it's in inverted order. And the there gives it away. The word there, the There, gives it away. Not every time, but a lot of times that can be an indication. But the correct answer with this one is H because the subject is rules. You say rules is plural, matches plural subject word. The playing field had, your ear might pick that up too. The playing field had no boundaries and the length of the field varied greatly. Um, if I were doing a one-on-one tutoring session, I would go into more depth with the subject verb agreement. I'll give you this. One trick you can use is she versus we, she or he versus we. I usually determine that based on the gender of the student I'm working with. So I'm working with males, I do he versus we. If I work with females, I do she versus we. Since I'm the male on here, I'll say he versus we. Would I say he was? No, yes, I would say he was. That means that was is a verb that matches a singular subject he. Would I say he has been or we has been? I would say he has been. So that means has been matches a singular subject. Would I say he were or we were? I would definitely say we were. So that means were matches a plural subject. And would I say he was or we was? I would say he was and was matches a singular subject. All right. The playing field had no boundaries and the length of the field varied greatly, dash, sometimes a significant amount. Given that all the choices are true, which one most clearly uses specific details to support the sentence claim about stickball playing fields? So they said that the fields varied greatly. We want to specifically support that. An important factor from 100 feet to this is perfect. C tells you exactly how the length of the field vary greatly. From 100 feet could be a length to 5 miles could be a length. So that's a different big variety of lengths, right? That's so it's C. C gives us the specific details to support the sentence claim about the field. Okay, keep going. Modern day stickball has inherited the game's intensity. True to the legacy of the game, players do not wear pads or helmets. Also, many play barefoot. All right, this is two sentences, so this should be a conjunction, comma, fanboy to separate. True to the legacy of the game, that's my fragment, comma, players do not wear pads or helmets. That's a sentence on the left. The right side says many play barefoot. That's another sentence. You might think many what, but it's still many can be the subject of a sentence. So many play barefoot. Um, so we would need and because that's comma fanboy to separate two sentences. No other choice can separate two sentences. So you had to look up comma conjunctions. And is one of those conjunctions. Fanboy stands for and, nor, but, or yet. So if you put a comma with one of those conjunctions, you use it to separate two sentences. And is one of those conjunctions on the fanboy list. So if we put comma with and, we use it to separate two sentences. However, there have been some changes. The game today is usually played on a football field. New rules have been added for safety. For example, so number eight is H. I think I said it. New rules have been added for safety. For example, only participants making a play on the ball are permitted to be tackled. For the native people at the Choctaw Indian Fair, stickball is more than an exciting game. It's a way to honor their heritage and keep it thriving. Through the centuries, stickball has remained a part of Choctaw culture. Thomas Benn, the stickball commissioner, said, "This is us. This defines the Choctaw people." All right. Um, my mouse responding slow for some reason. All right, the writer wants to add the following sentence to the essay. What sentence is that? Players cannot touch the ball with their hands. Where do we place that? So that was a rule. So where were they talking about the rules? Is it A in paragraph one? So we got to check each spot. A in paragraph one, B in paragraph two. A in paragraph one. Let's just check two. Let's put two and A in paragraph one. Did they talk about rules yet? Manny bitch, I thought this. No, they're just talking about. They're just giving us background about stickball, but they're not telling us the rules yet. B in paragraph two. Yeah, see, in stickball, players work to move the ball down the field. So these are telling us the rules, which they're telling us how it plays, playing to carry ball. Yeah, so it's probably B. Yeah, it's probably B. Let's check C in paragraph four and D in paragraph five. C in paragraph four. I say the game change true legacy of the game players do not wear pads or helmets. Some changes. They're talking about the changes to the game. For example, only player participants may get play. I guess it could be here too, but there could be changes, right? Players cannot touch the ball with their hands. I wonder if that's a change or if that was original. I bet that was B. I bet you that was the original. We know it's not D. You wouldn't start a paragraph saying players cannot touch the ball with their hands. That's not starting a paragraph. Then for the native people, stickball is much further than inside the game. No, it's definitely not there. That's not a topic sentence of a paragraph. I want to say it's B. Players cannot touch the ball with their hand. That's part of the rules. In stickball, players work to move the ball down the field, their opponents, right? And they're talking about the ball, moving the ball. Then they would say players cannot touch the ball with their hands. To catch, carry, and throw the ball, they hold to kabaka, right? So it's telling about the ball and you can't touch with your hands. Yeah. So yeah, definitely B for number nine. Number 10, suppose the writer's primary purpose had been to provide an overview of a sport. Would this essay accomplish this purpose? Yes, because explain how Choctaw football is played and why it's important. Choctaw football is totally method. Yes, SF, because the sport was, they gave us an overview of the sport, when it started, how it came about, why it was used, how it's played today. Yes, so it's definitely F. It's not H. It did not describe that. This focused it, and the primary purpose of this was not describing the Indian fair. And it wasn't focused on why the World Series of Stickball was created. Yeah, it wasn't focused on the World Series of Stickball, just stickball in general. I think it was just focused on stickball in general, not the World Series of Stickball. Yeah, they just talking about this specific event. This is the main event for it. They just tell us this is the main event for stickball, but they talked about how just stickball in general. You see, then it goes on to end stickball in general. So yeah, the main purpose is not about that event, the World Series of Stickball, it's just about stickball in general. So the answer to number 10 was definitely F. Yes, because it explains how Choctaw stickball is played and why it's important. Passage 2, the Carrot House. All right. I don't know this name. Jazinci began designing the Carrot House. I think that's Jazinci. Jazin Jazinci. Show my ignorance. Now somebody probably knows that. And they're looking at me like, why am I watching this guy's video? He don't even know how to say this guy's name. But I know this test. Began designing the Carrot House. Today, likely the narrowest building in the world. Okay. Um, while walking through Warsaw's Wola district, Polish architect Jacob Jasinski noticed a small gap between two buildings. Not particularly tall, the other a contemporary concrete apartment building. Those are two buildings. I was just finishing the sentence. So it's two underlines in the same sentence. So 11, which choice makes the sentence most grammatically acceptable? While walking through Warsaw's Wola district. That's fragment, comma. That's right. Polish architect Jacob Straczynski noticed. Yeah, we don't need a pause after that. Because you're thinking about commas, do we need to pause? Is there a certain comma rule? Yes, the answer is definitely A. You just start with the while. Whenever you see while at start a sentence, you know it's starting with a fragment. While walking through, while something, we need a comma. What happened while we were walking? And it's usually fragment, comma, sentence. So it's definitely A for that one. A lot of students would mess this up because they want to put his name as like a side note. Or you could put Polish architect. Like if you use B, you would say the comma after district and comma after architect could go together to take out Polish architect. So Polish architect would be like a side note or parenthetical expression. Because it would read without it while walking through Warsaw's Wola district, Joseph Szynski. Notice a small group. So you could read without Polish architect, but Polish architect kind of goes with the name. And remember, side notes usually come after, not before. So you're not going to use the commas as Polish architect as a side note. And it couldn't be C, where his name is a side note, Jacob Szynski, the comma after architect, because you wouldn't say Polish architect, notice state small. You could say the Polish architect. But even still, you would need this comma after district to separate fragment comma sentence. So that's also why C is not correct. All right. Given that, let me look at 12. Given that all the traits are accurate, which one sets up a direct contrast? That means opposite regarding the age of the two buildings. Age. So the other contemporary concrete apartment building, contemporary means modern. So the first one had to be old. So it's definitely not particularly tall. There it is, a pre-World War II brick rooming house. Pre-World War II is old, right? So it's definitely G. That contrasts to contemporary, which means new or modern. He imagined transforming the space into a functional building that would physically link two different eras. That would make sense because one is old and one is new. Which sequence of sentences make this paragraph most logical? So what's the first one? We know it's not three. Three is not going to be the top of sentence because he imagined transforming the space. What space? We don't know the space. They wouldn't name the space yet. So we know three is not going to be the first one. So D is out. I think three is going to be where it is, the last one, but it could be the second one. I don't know. I think one is the last one, actually. Two is the first one because one talks about, first of all, one uses his last name as though we've mentioned him already, and we haven't. So I don't think one would be the first instance of a passage. We need to know who Szynski is. They don't usually start by saying the person's referring to the person by their last name. That's usually after they give you the full name. And sentence two has the full name. And if you think about it, it gives you a background. While walking through it, he noticed this, he noticed it. And then as he noticed it, two would be the first sentence, definitely. Because it gives you his full name and it's talking about he noticed it. Then when he noticed this space in between these buildings, three would be next, right? He imagined transforming the space into a functional building because we're talking about the space. And then one, after he's got the idea and he imagined it and he envisioned it, then he began designing it, right? So it would be 231, which is choice C. Named to honor writer Edgar Carrot, this impossible slim house is only about 4 feet across. That is why it's supposed to why that is. That's shorter than me. I'm 6 feet something tall. Still, it has most of the features of a traditional house. The house contains a 1 foot wide dining table and chairs. 1 foot wide. Damn that. Darn, I'm sorry. Darn, that's a small 1 foot wide. That's very narrow. I guess it has to run long because 1 foot is a ruler. Oh, it can't fit much on a 1 foot wide table. Still, it has most of the features of a traditional house. The house, oh, I'm reading that again. Storage areas, kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom are compressed to fit into a spread of space over 2 floors. Narrowness, it would be sliver, right? Which choice precisely conveys the narrowness of the space? You would say a sliver, a small, thin. sliver of space, because when they said spread of space, that didn't make sense if I read it. 14 is H. The building is primarily a working studio for artists and residents selected by Shazinski and Carrot. Artists apply for a short stay, which was make the sentence most grammatically acceptable. As Carrot explains it, artists apply for a short stay. Artists apply for a short stay. And yeah, that's some and comma, as Carrot explained it, that's your side note. And use the space as a portal to all kinds of artistic initiatives. It's definitely B. You take the and it out, it doesn't work. Artists apply for a short stay. As Carrot explains it, use the space. So as Carrot explains, it's a side note. So artists apply for a short stay. Use the space as a no, that doesn't work. Since its opening in 2012, the Carrot House has hosted several visits. Okay, we done with that one because there was no more for that one. So we don't really have to read that one anymore because they didn't have any more questions about it. Retire the penny. During the early 20th century, many goods cost a few pennies or less. Candy lovers could buy a gumball or a Tootsie Roll for a penny. I remember those days. I think it could cost you like 2 cents. You could buy a piece of gum for like 2 cents. You could use pennies to buy candy. They had something called penny candy where you could pay a penny for candy. Nowadays you can't shoot a piece of gum. I don't know how much it costs. I haven't bought that in a while, but it's not a penny. I'll tell you that much. And then if you go to the gumball machine, you can put a quarter in and turn it and you get a piece of gum out. And they don't really have those anymore. All right. Moviegoers could watch a reel of Charlie Chaplin penny for. Oh wow, you can watch a movie for a penny or two now. That is before my days. Today, though, with the cumulative effects of inflation, the penny has almost zero purchasing power. Think about it. When was the last time you bought something for a penny? You would not. You can add it to other money. Although many of us harbor fond memories of collecting pennies in the piggy bank. Me, I think I got one actually at home. I didn't use a piggy bank per se, but I used a like a water container to hold pennies. I have a bunch of change in there because we started shifting away from using all kind of change because everything was on your credit card and stuff. Think about it. When's the last time you bought something for a penny? Although many of us harbor memories of it's time to do the practical thing, retire the U.S. penny, so they want to get rid of penny. The writers consider revising the underlying portion to the following: still gather pennies in change trades. So taking out harbor fond memories of collecting pennies in a piggy bank. Still gather pennies and change trades. Given the information is accurate, should we make till we change it today? Although many of us, it's time to do the practice. Yes, because the revision more clearly suggests that pennies in bulk still have at least some value. I don't know if it's given value. Yes, because the revision more clearly suggests that nostalgia is unrelated to the purchasing power of the penny. Uh, No, because the original more clearly suggests that nostalgia may be hindering the retirement of the penny. Yeah, I like that one best. No, because the original more clearly suggests that pennies would have little to no sentimental value if they were retired. That definitely doesn't say it, says the opposite. The original says that pennies do have sentimental value because we harbor fond memories. So I would say H. I like the reason for H. I couldn't really know if it should be taken away or not, but the reason for H seemed to line up best. The original harbor fond memories of collecting pennies in the piggy bank. It does more clearly suggest that nostalgia is the fond memories, may be hindering the retirement of the penny because they may not run a retirement penny because people have great memories of it. I didn't really I didn't like the reasons for replacing it. Still gather pennies in change rate. The revision more clearly suggests that pennies in bulk still have some value. Doesn't make that clear because harboring them in the piggy bank is in bulk. gather pennies in exchange trade. That doesn't really give it value. The vision more clearly suggests that nostalgia is unrelated. That's not true. Um, this revision does not suggest that nostalgia is unrelated to the percentile opinion. Hmm. Could it be true? Let me see. Because the revision still gather pennies in exchange trades more clearly suggests that nostalgia is unrelated. No, it doesn't suggest that nostalgia is unrelated. All right, I'm gonna go with yeah, I'm gonna go with H. Okay, producing and distributing pennies isn't cheap. I probably should look up 16. Let's be thorough. 16. Yeah, 16. H. Yeah, I was right. Just wanted to make sure. Producing and distributing pennies isn't cheap, and in that year alone, see, this doesn't even sound right. This could be right. Producing and distributing pennies isn't cheap. That could be a top single of the paragraph. And in that year alone, what year referring to? We're referring to 2002. So two has to come after three. In 2002, the U.S. Mint spent 2.72 cents to put each penny into circulation. And in that year alone, the Mint made nearly 6.5 billion pennies, costing the U.S. over $170 million. So this is an example of producing and distributing pennies not being cheap. So that's the topic sentence. So it goes one, then three, then two. Yeah, that'd be. Economics professor Waple cites another problem, the so-called penny tax, which is really a tax on time. When cashiers make change for a cash purchase, they often reach into the register's penny trays and count out 1 to 4%. All right, which choice makes it grammatically acceptable? They often reach, we don't need a comma after reach, they reach into the register's penny trays. Um, So it's either H or J. We don't need to come after reach. There's no reason for that. No pause, no shift, no change of thought, no rule. So is it registers or registers? It's definitely apostrophe because it's the registers penny trades. It's the registers trades. So that's showing possession. So we need an apostrophe on registers. Leaving it just registers plural, that wouldn't be correct because there's possession. And count out 1 to 4 cents. While the time it takes to do this may seem trivial, each year billions of cash transactions are made annually. These penny taxes in aggregate result in over 120 billion hours when cashiers could be completing more meaningful tasks. Oh wow. They went into the math of counting out pennies and how that takes more time than if you just do it electronically. That's interesting. Um, Which choice is least redundant in context? Again, when they say least redundant, you're just pretty much looking for the shortest one, which was D, right? Billions of cash transactions are made each year. So let's see if they work. While the time it takes to do this may seem trivial, billions of cash transactions are made each year. Yeah, see, A is not right because redundancy each year and annually. You don't need to say both. That's redundant. B, billions of cash transactions occur each year when physical money is exchanged for goods. Cash transactions is physical money being exchanged for goods. That's redundant. On a yearly basis, billions of cash transactions occur annually. Hey, again, yearly basis, and that's redundant. You're repeating stuff, so D is correct. These penny taxes in aggregate result in over 120 billion hours when cashiers and consumers could be completing more meaningful tasks. Proponents of pennies, if the writer were to delete the underlined portion, the paragraph would primarily lose. What is this underlined portion? Who are the proponents of pennies? Often lobbyists for the mining of zinc, zinc being the primary component of pennies. Oh, I see. So they're describing who would support pennies. So if we take that out, we don't know who the proponent of pennies are. As suggesting that many proponents of keeping the penny in circulation may be motivated by self-interest. it is a suggestion. That's what it is doing because the people who mine zinc would definitely want to keep pennies in production because they selling zinc to the government who makes pennies. But if they get rid of pennies, then they can't sell zinc. So yeah, that is kind of self-interest, but let's see, G. An indication of the amount of money? No, it's not the amount of money. We don't know how much. H, an explanation of how zinc mining affects the prices? No, we don't know how. No, that's not it. What about J? A summary of the argument made by many proponents of pennies for keeping. No, that's not a summary of the argument. Um, it's F. It's a suggestion that many proponents of keeping the penny maybe what about self-interest? What is the self-interest? They may mine for zinc. And so by keeping the penny in production, they're gonna have they can sell zinc to the government to make money. That if the penny were eliminated, consumers would pay more for goods. So of course they would say that because they want to keep selling zinc to the government to make pennies. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. Oops. Um, consistently, research showed that Americans respond negatively when prices increase due to inflation. This is unrelated. I think this is unrelated, right? We're talking about pennies. Pennies were eliminated, consumers would pay more for goods. Consistent research shows that Americans respond negatively when prices increase due to inflation. And it would be right if they say when prices increase, maybe due to penny production or something like that. But just to say inflation, yeah, that's not related at this point. So should the writer make this addition here? No, because it's unrelated to the writer's rebuttal. No. Yeah, it's unrelated to the article's, the writer's rebuttal. It's not related, right? Because it supports the opinion proponent's argument that supports Jones would have. No, it's definitely C. It's unrelated to the writer's rebuttal. The writer's rebuttal of the argument made by proponents of the pennies was not about inflation. Okay. It was just saying that um yeah. All right. But in Canada where the penny was so 21 is definitely C, we don't need that. 20, but in Canada, where the penny was eliminated in 2013, this hasn't been a problem. Canadian merchants round each cash purchase to the nearest nickel. If a hair comb costs $1.02, consumers pay $1. If it costs $1.03, they pay $1.05. Studies have shown that it's a wash. It is a wash, so it should be G or H, not it's. It's IT apostrophe S, it should be it is a wash. It's not it's. ITS is ownership. We're not concerned. It's we're not owning it's A. A is not being owned. Either is wash being owned. It's saying it is a wash. So it should be G or H overall, comma. That's the same for both. Consumers pay no more or no less than. It should be THAN because you're comparing, not then as in next. So this is choice G. They did when the penny was in circulation. Bills for retiring the penny have been floating around Congress for decades. Whether out of nostalgia or fear of change, lawmakers have been disinclined to execute a proposed course of action. That just doesn't sound right. They're using, it was very simple, easy to understand words, and now they got real like wordy and yeah, that's not the essay's tone. The essay was just straight to the point. Been disinclined to execute. That's just using too many words to say something that could be said much simpler. Lawmakers have been reluctant to act. Right. That simply says it. Haven't closed the deal. Um, that's more of what deal? What deal are we talking about? That's more informal language. We're not talking about a deal, right? Haven't ratified a thing. Um, that's not really saying specifically what we're saying, right? We're just really saying lawmakers just have been reluctant to act. They haven't been reluctant to do anything about the penny, right? Simply said it as B. But the value of today's penny is defective. That's not the right vocabulary word. Um, I would say negligible, meaning that it doesn't really have any real value. By retiring the penny, Congress would cut costs of the U.S. while also giving cashiers some time work. Right, the value of today's penny is negligible, meaning it's not really that valuable. So, and it says by retiring the penny, Congress will cut costs at the U.S. Mint while also giving cashiers some time back. That goes along with what they were saying in the passage. Reduce pollution, no. Free up time for workers at the UN, no. Bargaining power of cashiers, no. Reduce coin clutter, also no. It was A. It was definite. All right. We're going to stop there for the first half. We'll finish the second half later because that's 25 questions. I think we got 25 more to go. So next video will be part 2 of the English. Hope this was of help to you.